Launch Director.
Launch vehicle is ready for launch.
We have ignition.
You have permission to launch.
1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket.
Mach 1, execute. And we have an indication of spacecraft separation.
Good morning. I'm Ben Chilton, an ordnance engineer at ULA, and your host for today's live coverage of the Atlas V USSF-51 launch. I'm joining you from ULA's Advanced Spaceflight Operations Center at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where liftoff is scheduled for 6:45 a.m. Eastern at the beginning of our 3-hour launch window. In addition to watching our webcast, you can also follow live mission progress at ulalaunch.com. The count is currently in a 30-minute planned hold. We have 2 planned holds in our 7.5-hour launch count, which give our team additional time to resolve any issues prior to entering the terminal count. At this time, the team is not working any issues and we're proceeding towards an on-time liftoff. Live mission coverage will continue through payload fairing jettison, which occurs about 3 minutes after liftoff. ULA is proud to partner with the U.S. Space Force's Space Systems Command on the government's final launch of a national security space mission aboard an Atlas V rocket. USSF-51 will deliver critical capabilities to space for the security and prosperity of our nation and the world. Since 2003, Space Systems Command has conducted more than 100 launches, resulting in more than $90 billion in U.S. space capabilities successfully placed on orbit, making it the most successful launch program in the world. The Space Force extends its gratitude to the many men and women in and out of uniform who have contributed to the National Security Space Launch Program. ULA's Atlas V rockets have delivered important capabilities to orbits where they protect the security and prosperity of our nation and the world. Let's hear from notable Space Force leaders about today's monumental launch and the many people that have contributed throughout the years.
I just want to say thank you to all the men and women that have dedicated their blood, sweat, and tears to this program over the last 25 years. They have something to be extremely proud of. I've spent over 15 years in the launch business. I was a responsible engineer.
I had 3 jobs in the EELV program office. The first one, I was the Atlas V program manager. The second, I was the deputy system program director. And lastly, I was the program director for EELV.
I'm Bob Hotchkiss, Colonel, United States Air Force, retired. I had the opportunity to serve as the Atlas V program manager from January of 2003 until May of 2005.
Hi, I'm Dr. Walt Lauderdale. My start in the program was as the Atlas V program manager as a lieutenant colonel.
Lieutenant Lauren Peterson. I am a government mission integration manager.
My name is Arian Elog. I am an Atlas V structures and pneumatics engineer.
Hi, I'm Captain Janssen Lee and I am the avionics chief.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Braun Cush. I've been working on Atlas Delta as a responsible engineer.
It's a really strong recipe, a combination of government, FFRDC partners in aerospace, contractor team, and then the technical experts, just that recipe of success over and over and over again.
And I specifically focus on the avionics components and several subsystems of the avionics as a whole.
And our job is to make sure that on a day-to-day basis, we do everything we can within our means to be able to lower that risk as much as possible.
On day of launch, I come out here with my mission integration team. If there's anomalies that come up that are integrated between the space vehicle and the launch vehicle, we work those with the various teams to make sure that we can get to where we need to go.
As we reflect on the history of Atlas, the word that will probably constantly come to people's minds is workhorse.
I never really understood the power of the Atlas V. It's like the Ferrari of the launch vehicle systems.
My role in the Atlas was a unique opportunity. I ran the source selection that selected Boeing and Lockheed Martin, and from that point on started the Atlas V contract.
I was the Atlas V program manager for our first launch, STP-1, back in 2007. So it's a great privilege now as mission director for the last NSSL launch with Atlas V.
We have launched almost 60 national security missions on this rocket. As we close down the Atlas program from a national security perspective, there's still upwards of 15 additional launches that Atlas will perform. It's kind of a bittersweet moment, but very excited for that final chapter in the Atlas history book.
ULA is using an Atlas V 551 rocket to launch the USSF-51 mission. Built in ULA's production facilities in Decatur, Alabama and Harlingen, Texas, this is the 101st Atlas V launch and ULA's 162nd mission. Let's learn more about this rocket.
The Atlas V rocket, once fully stacked, stands 196 feet and weighs nearly 1.8 million pounds fully fueled. At the base is the Atlas V Common Core booster, powered by an NPO Energomash RD-180 engine. For additional thrust at liftoff, 5 Northrop Grumman solid rocket boosters, or SRBs, are attached to the rocket. Atop the booster is the ULA Centaur second stage, powered by an Aerojet Rocketdyne RL-10 C-11 engine. Spacecraft are encapsulated inside a protective 5-meter diameter payload fairing, produced by Beyond Gravity in Decatur, Alabama. With production complete, the rocket travels from Alabama to Cape Canaveral on ULA's rocket ship. Once in Florida, a series of events lead to today's countdown. The process begins by lifting the 107-foot booster onto the Mobile Launch Platform, or MLP. Next, we mate the SRBs. Then the Centaur second stage is transported to the pad and lifted into position. Lastly, the encapsulated payload fairing is lifted and mated to the Atlas V rocket. Once fully assembled, the launch countdown begins by moving the rocket from the Vertical Integration Facility, or VIF, to the pad. To complete this move, which spans about 1/3 of a mile, the rocket is transported by the MLP. Weighing in at approximately 2 million pounds, the MLP supports the rocket and contains air conditioning, electrical, and commodities lines. Throughout the 20-minute trip, rail cars lead the move, with the payload van providing spacecraft communication and the ground van providing support for the rocket. At the rear of the convoy is an environmental control system, which provides air conditioning to the payload and the rocket. Trackmobiles power the nearly 3 million pound convoy. With the rocket on the pad, the launch team then transitions to fueling and other final preparations.
Today's launch is ULA's 100th mission in support of national security. Let's hear more about ULA's commitment to defending our nation.
ULA is proud to serve our country and honored to launch our 100th national security mission. The importance of reliably delivering these missions to orbit is never lost on us. They keep our people safe by keeping an eye on our adversaries, delivering critical information to decision makers, providing communication capabilities across battlefields, on land, at sea, in air, and in space. Helping warfighters find their way on the front line and the home front. Monitoring for missile threats. And testing and implementing new technologies that protect our country and our people. 100 national security launches. 100 missions we proudly enabled. And we look forward to the next era of national security missions, launching atop ULA's high-performance Vulcan rocket.
All communications switch to channel 1. All personnel and visitors remain in present position.
ULA's Atlas V rocket will head southeast from Space Launch Complex 41. Here's a look at today's ascent.
Generating a combined liftoff thrust of more than 2 million pounds, the RD-180 engine and 5 solid rocket boosters ignite to start ULA's Atlas V rocket on its trip to geosynchronous orbit. Shortly after liftoff, Atlas begins a pitchover to attain the proper flight path with an easterly heading while minimizing the dynamic pressure the rocket experiences during flight. Within the first minute of flight, Atlas V reaches Mach 1, the speed of sound. Within the next 2 minutes of first stage flight, the Atlas V rocket will quadruple its velocity, following jettison of the 5 GEM 63 solid rocket boosters. The USSF-51 mission is encapsulated inside a 5-meter diameter payload fairing, which is a sandwich composite structure made with a vented aluminum honeycomb core and graphite epoxy face sheets. Once the rocket has climbed above the densest part of Earth's atmosphere, the payload fairing is jettisoned, and the mission continues to its final destination, completing ULA's 100th national security flight.
Roger.
Before we continue, let's check in on today's weather. Space Launch Delta 45's forecast for this morning's launch is looking good. Here's Launch Weather Officer Arlena Moses.
That's right, Ben. We have a look at our infrared satellite here this morning over the past couple of hours that measures the temperatures of the clouds, with the brighter colors being our colder, higher clouds. And you can notice over the past couple of hours, all the area around our spaceport here has started to diminish, indicating clearing conditions, with the boundary that we were watching has moved off to South Florida. So that's why if we take a look at our forecast this morning, our lead launch weather officer has lowered our probability of any violations down to 10% here as we go into our T0, with a small concern for our cumulus cloud roll and light winds. So great weather for our launch this morning. Let's go, team. Back to you.
Thanks, Arlena. We remain in the planned 30-minute hold as we continue towards liftoff. In a few moments, launch conductor Scott Barney will pull the launch team for the final go to pick up the count. 29 engineers and managers are pulled for system status and readiness to proceed. This is the final status check for all Atlas vehicle systems, ground systems, spacecraft, and the U.S. Space Force Eastern Range. The vehicle system readiness pull includes electrical systems, hydraulics, pneumatics, propulsion systems, flight control, and propellants. Let's listen in as Scott Barney performs the final polling.
Minus 7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion. Go. Hydraulics. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2. Go. Water. Go. Centaur systems, propulsion. Go. Pneumatics. Go. LO2. Go. LH2. Go. Has gas. Go. Electrical systems airborne. Go. Ground. Go. Facility. Go. RFFTS. Go. Flight control. Go. GCQ. Go. Op support. Go. Com. Go. Umbilicals. Go. ECS. Go. Redline monitor. Go. Quality. Quality, net 1. Go. Op safety manager. Go. ULA safety officer. Go. Vehicle system engineer. Go. Anomaly chief. Go. Range coordinator. Clear to proceed. Launch director.
Launch vehicle is ready to launch.
Mission director.
This is the mission director. You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC, verified T0 is set for 10:45 Zulu.
Verified.
Polling is complete. The ULA launch team and the Space Force mission director are go for launch. From T-minus 4 minutes until launch, you will be listening to Scott Barney and his team performing the final steps in the countdown procedure. Several critical activities occur in the final minutes before launch, including verifying fuel tank levels and pressures in the booster and Centaur, and arming the flight termination system. At T-minus 25 seconds, you'll hear, "Go Atlas, go Centaur, go USSF-51." This is the final status check of rocket and payload readiness. At T-minus 3 seconds, the main engine ignites, followed by ignition of the solid rocket boosters. Then, after seeing Atlas V lift off the launch pad, you'll be hearing flight commentator Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data. This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. We anticipate releasing the hold in just a few moments.
On my mark, the time will be T-minus 4 minutes and counting. 3, 2, 1, mark. 3:55.
Ground pyros enabled.
The countdown clock has resumed, and we are go for launch at 6:45 a.m. Eastern. With liftoff approaching, we're going to raise the volume on our launch team so you can hear the final preps taking place.
Three minutes.
Pressurizing Atlas tanks.
Securing LO2 topping.
250.
FTS internal.
T-minus 2 minutes. The rocket, payload, ground systems, and eastern range are go for launch.
150.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
If you just tuned in, I'm Ben Chilton, your host for today's live coverage of the Atlas V USSF-51 launch. At this time, the team is not working any issues, and we're proceeding towards an on-time liftoff at 6:45 a.m. Eastern.
OCU's armed.
FCS count started.
115.
Produce CCS for launch.
Roger. 110.
Vent valves locked.
One minute.
Rock, report
T-minus 1 minute.
Range green.
Forty seconds.
Stable at step 3.
Verify ECS reduced for launch.
Verified.
Status check.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur.
Go SF-51.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, carrying USSF-51 for the United States Space Force on ULA's 100th National Security Mission.
Hydraulics look good. We are throttling down in preparation for max Q. Everything looking good. P is at closed loop control. And roll program did complete on time. Mach 1. Vehicle's now supersonic. Engine continues to operate normally. SRB is burning normally. Everything looking good.
You are hearing the voice of Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data.
And max Q. We're throttling up post max Q as expected. Everything looking good, following the expected profile. SRB is burning normally. RD-180 operating expected throttle level. Everything looking good. Body weights look good. We have now throttled down in preparation for SRB burnout. We are now 50% of our liftoff weight. SRB is rolling off. And we have SRB burnout. 10 seconds to SRB jettison. SRB jet. All 5 SRBs successfully jettisoned the vehicle. RD-180 is throttled up and operating normally. Everything looking good. We're now 34 miles in altitude, 36 miles downrange, traveling at 4,200 miles per hour. Quick review of our range track. Vehicles proceeding right down the center of the range track. Everything looking good. And we did enable closed loop steering a few seconds ago. Everything looks good there. Next event we're looking for is throttling down to a constant 2.5 G limit for payload fairing jettison. And we've begun the throttle down, now holding a constant 2.5 Gs in preparation for fairing jet. And we fired the power valve, activating the reaction control system on the second stage. And we just passed through the von Karman line, 25% of liftoff weight. Ten seconds to fairing jet. We have fairing jettison. And CLFR deck jettison. And we throttled up the RD-180.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T plus 3 minutes and 38 seconds. We just heard flight commentator Rob Gannon confirm the successful completion of the early phase of today's flight, and all systems continue to operate nominally. At this time, we're going to end our live coverage. For more information about the Atlas V rocket, visit ulalaunch.com. I'm Ben Chilton, and thank you for joining us this morning. Before we sign off, let's take another look at the liftoff of ULA's 100th National Security Mission. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, carrying USSF-51 for the United States Space Force on ULA's 100th National Security Mission.
Hydraulics look good. We are throttling down in preparation for max Q. Everything looking good. P is at closed loop control. whole program did complete on time.